Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I'll try to keep this short. I had a 1967 Impala 4-door that I bought in February 2019. A couple of months ago, I bought my first house that had a 2.5 car garage. I moved the car in and started tearing it down for a complete restoration. I had the body in one bay and the chassis in another, plus the whole garage filled with parts. About 2 months ago, my girlfriend came to live with me during this whole crisis, and the whole time she hated that car. She wants to park in the garage, but I have 2 acres of land with a lot of nice places to park, under shady trees, or hell, even in the barn if it has to be inside. I tell her tough luck, it is my house, and it's not like I can just throw it back together real quick. Anyways, I was out of town for a couple of days on a business trip, for the small local company I work for. When I got back, my girlfriend was all smiles, making me food all the time, doing all the chores, all that. I thought maybe she was just happy to have me home, but then I realized that I didn't see her car in its usual spot. I asked her where she parked so I could make sure I mow that area and keep it clean, and she said not to worry because she parked in a garage. I asked how and she told me to go check it out. Turns out that while I was gone, she hired some people to come over and move everything related to that car, including the drivetrain, body, and chassis, and all parts, and take it to the local dump or scrapyard. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I had spent over $11,000 on that car, including new parts, services, and the car itself. I told her that I was going to be taking her to court for that, and she brushed me off like I was being dramatic. I told her that it's done between us and to pack her things and leave. I admit I was really angry, but I did end up getting a lawyer, and as I have all the receipts for all that money I spent, and I have her on my house's security cam footage, letting the guys in and watching them take it all, I think I can win. Her family and friends are absolutely blowing me up, saying it's just a stupid old piece of junk and that she cannot pay back all that money, and that I should just let it go. But I have been putting all my time, effort, and money into that car for 1.5 years now, and boy, I'm going to get justice for what she did. Am I in the wrong here though? And now for some comments. Not in the wrong. Sue her. Sue her for the cost plus a few extra thousand for the time and money. Have her prosecuted for theft, destruction of private property, and have the guys that came to get it prosecuted for receiving stolen goods. Nail them all to the wall. You're not in the wrong. How do you have the nerve to do something like that in someone's home? She isn't even your wife. She went too far, and I say you dodged the bullet. You're not in the wrong. Holy moly. Definitely not in the wrong. That's like your girlfriend selling a dog out from under you while you are on a business trip because she didn't like it. The audacity. If she didn't like it, she could have just ignored it. The most toxic part is that she sees no issue. Your property, your house, and she throws it away? And if any judge knows the worth of that car, they would understand suing her for the costs, let alone the time you spent on it. That's a hobby and a very good one. If she could support you and your project, that probably would have been a red flag for anything you do later on. I think this is all justified. Edit. Thank you all so much for the support and awards and everything. I'm glad I have some people on my side. I got a call from her mom about 20 minutes ago, and she told me that I was ruining her daughter's life over a stupid car. I told her she ruined her own life. I've been gathering documentation and stuff in. I'm about to head down to the police station and file a report, as suggested by lots here. Once again, thank you all. Update. I went to the police station last night, was told to come back in the morning. Just got back and filed an official report against her for grand larceny and grand theft auto. I showed them all the receipts I had for the car and the footage of her letting the guys come and take it, as well as the title for the vehicle in my name. They said they will be in contact with all 3 parties, me, my ex-girlfriend, and the junkyard guys, and they will hopefully be able to recover some or all of my car. Just have to wait now. Huge update. They found my damn car. The junkyard guys apparently were in the middle of hiding it when the police came to ask them questions. It was on a forklift and they were gonna put it on top of a pile of cars that was hidden behind more piles of cars. They said it was theirs and they had the title, but obviously didn't have the title for it, and since they matched the VIN on the chassis and body to the VIN on my title, it was obviously mine. I know at least one person there has been arrested. I think he was in the camera footage I talked about earlier, but I don't know if it was the boss or whomever or even his specific charge. They also told me they will be looking into this specific junkyard for any other vehicles reported stolen. They said they haven't been able to get in contact with my ex just yet, but they are working on it. I am so glad they found my car. Luckily, I make quite an album of pictures detailing me tearing down the car, and so I can use that to prove what parts they had were mine, so I can hopefully get most or all of it back. The police haven't let me take it back home yet, as they say it is evidence or something, so hopefully I can get it back eventually. Thank you all so much for the support and advice. Throwaway account because many of my friends know this story. I, male 23, live in an apartment complex in the US, near a public walking trail. This apartment also has some nice outdoor facilities, like benches where I like to sit and read. There is another individual who lives in the same complex who frequently walks his dog along the public trail. Unfortunately, this dog is not at all friendly, and frequently growls and tugs against his leash as I walk by him and his owner. Although a bit disconcerting, this hasn't really been an issue, as the owner has always caught the dog and reined it in before it got close to me. About a week ago, however, I was sitting outside on one of our complex's benches reading a book. For context, this bench is on the corner of a 90-degree walking path and is obscured from view by a hedge. The owner had his dog on a long leash, and it rounded the corner long before he did. And as soon as the dog saw me, it growled, lunged for me, and bit my leg. The bite wasn't that bad. It didn't tear through my pants. And though it bled a bit, it wasn't a puncture wound. So the risk for infection was low. I yelled and the owner immediately pulled his dog back. I told him he needed to keep his dog on a shorter leash, and his only response was a half-hearted sorry. I didn't see you. In the heat of the moment, I neglected to get his information. I went immediately to my apartment to put some disinfectant on the wound. I reported it to my leasing officer, who seemed very concerned. She asked who the individual was and whether he was a resident of the complex, which, at the time, I didn't know. Here is where I might be in the wrong. Today, while out walking, I saw him again. When he wasn't looking, I snapped a photo, returned to my apartment, and watched from my window to see if he returned to one of the buildings in our complex. Sure enough, he did. And I know exactly which building. So, would I be in the wrong if I reported this guy and his dog to my landlord? On one hand, I believe this dog has been poorly socialized and is frequently kept on way too long of a leash, around 7 or 8 feet. Children, elderly people, and other more responsible dog owners frequently use this trail. And I would hate to see someone receive a more serious injury. On the other hand, I don't really want to be responsible for someone getting evicted if there haven't been any other incidents. And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong. Today it's you, but how about tomorrow? That dog could seriously hurt someone, and that's coming from someone who owns 7 dogs. Not in the wrong. Control your dog when you're in public or face the consequences. It may be the kick in the pants he needs to get the dog trained or keep him under control. You're not in the wrong, but you need to report this animal and owner to the animal control, not just your landlord. A dog that bites humans without provocation is very dangerous. You're lucky your bite was minor. The next person may not be so lucky. And you need to be sure it gets tested for rabies and find out its vaccination status. You may need monitoring for rabies yourself if the dog isn't vaccinated or preventative treatment. You probably also need the tetanus shot, as lockjaw is no joke. And you should also monitor carefully for infection. You may need a course of antibiotics as bite wounds are easily infected. I'm a father to 3 kids, Caitlin 22, Eve 15 and Nico 13. Caitlin is my ex-wife's daughter, who I raised since she was 2 and who I consider my child. And Eve and Nico are my biological children. Caitlin has been complaining since Eve was around 11 about how differently they were treated. I know exactly why they are treated so differently, and it's because of how wildly different my kids are. Caitlin was an average student, which was absolutely okay by me and my then wife, because we didn't need a perfect student. However, she was an awful person. There were so many nights that she had snuck out and we would be worried sick all night. She stole pills and money from anyone in the house, including her younger siblings. She would sneak people in all the time as well, including boys. And frankly, it disgusted me that she would bring them in to fool around with while her younger brother and sister were in the house. My ex-wife always was the one to dole out the punishment, which was never physical. Just getting grounded and taking her phone away, even though it barely worked. Nothing was ever set straight for her until a friend was caught by her parents and sent to a boarding school. She very nicely cleaned up her act and is now married with 3 kids. Eve and Nico are both extremely mature, kind, and just amazing people. They do great in school, get along great with people, and very important to me, each other. They are just 2 awesome kids, and I'm glad that I raised them that way. Whenever Caitlin starts to complain about how Eve and Nico have it easy, I always remind her why she was treated differently. That usually shuts it down. But when Caitlin found out that Eve is on birth control because she was honest with me and asked to go on it, she absolutely lost it. When Eve was babysitting her kids a few weeks ago, Caitlin took her phone and hid it somewhere and refused to give it back, until Eve was disciplined just like she was. I have tried to get her phone back but to no avail, and this is extremely stressful for me. She's a grown woman and acts so immaturely. Caitlin is convinced that I'm a total jerk, but I'm honestly not sure why. Reddit, please give me a verdict. Am I in the wrong here? And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong. Your oldest might benefit from some help or therapy, but I don't think you've done anything wrong to be considered a jerk. You're not in the wrong. Tell Caitlin you'll be filing a police report for stolen property if she doesn't return the phone. Also, your other kids shouldn't be allowed around her unsupervised because she's mistreating Eve. Remind her that she's an adult that is stealing from a minor. I don't know what her problem is exactly, but she needs to take some responsibility and sort it out. It is normal to parent different kids differently because they all have different needs. Sure, you'll try to make sure gifts and treats are even, but you can't be expected to punish a child because their older sibling did something wrong. What is your ex doing about this, by the way? To the poster. I withhold judgment. Stepchildren and step-parents' relationships are complicated. You may have believed you were fully supportive and loving towards Caitlin. However, Caitlin may see things differently. I do believe she's reacting poorly. There is little excuse for her as a grown woman to act as she is. However, her behavior suggests that she may have old wounds unintentionally inflicted by your relationship that she's acting upon. I do suspect the equity between all 3 children was not, and is not as fair or unbiased as you believe. I usually do not post when I have no judgment, but considering I hijacked an entire submitted post to lament the lack of reading comprehension, I felt I should offer something more to you than an unrelated side argument. Period. Ever since my friend got engaged and later married, her husband comes with her everywhere. In the beginning, it didn't seem weird, but she'd mentioned something about a girls' night and when we'd show up, he'd be there. Friends who would have birthday parties where none of our partners were invited and it was just the girls, and she'd bring him. We tried to talk to her about it, but she says it's just how they are as a couple. They like to do things together. There have been a few occasions where he won't come, but that's because he's working. It got to the point where we tried to plan events around his work schedule. It's the same every week, but eventually that became impossible. We haven't gotten together much over the past year because of the pandemic, but recently our favorite party opened with patio seating. A bunch of us wanted to go, but the only night that worked for us was a time when a friend's husband wasn't working. It meant he'd come. So we chose not to include her on these plans, and we went out, having a great time. We could whine about whatever. There wasn't someone awkwardly hanging over us. It was a girls' night we needed. One of the people in our group posted a picture on Instagram, and our friend who hasn't been invited saw it. She got upset that she wasn't invited and was asking why. We knew she was free and so on. No one wanted to own up to it, and I said, because we wanted a girls' night, not a girls' night plus your husband. She got more hurt and accused us of not liking her husband. I said that's not true, he's a really cool guy, but sometimes we just want to be with us girls. Some of us are married and we don't drag our husbands to every event. She stopped responding to the group chat and hasn't spoken to me since. I am now wondering if we're being mean, and if I was too hard on her. Am I in the wrong? And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong. She broke the girl code. If it's a girls' night, you don't bring a dude, any dude. Hence, girls' night. Why is that so difficult to her to understand? You were totally within reason to let her know. Also, same goes for guy nights. Don't bring your girlfriend. You're not in the wrong at all. Your friend is a huge jerk that doesn't respect her friends. Also, they are really weird. Not in the wrong. There are things that couples need to do without taking their spouses along too. Does he bring her to every one of his guys' nights out? This level of attachment isn't healthy. It makes me wonder about abuse. It should be normal and healthy for each half of the couple to do things without the other. There are also things they can do together, but not everything all the time. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.